The universe stood still, as a silent object drifted beyond Neptune's dying ring of ice.
3I/Atlas emerged again from the abyss, its fractured shell glowing faintly with inner motion.
It pulsed once every 40 seconds, radiating energy patterns no telescope had ever recorded before.
Around it, plasma fields folded inward, bending the starlight into distorted, concentric halos.
Instruments on Earth began to flicker, registering a vibration beneath the noise of cosmic background. The signal repeated with precision, mathematical, flawless, echoing directly beneath Earth's molten core.
Gravitational readings spiked, revealing both objects resonated like twin frequencies within one vast equation.
The moon's orbit shifted by half a meter, unnoticed by anyone but silent instruments beneath the crust. Every sensor turned toward the object failed, as though its surface erased the act of observation itself.
For the first time, 3I/Atlas reflected sunlight directly back toward Earth, forming a single blinding line.
Deep beneath the Pacific, seismic sensors detected an unfamiliar resonance rising from Earth's molten core. The frequency matched the pulse of 3I/Atlas precisely, as though the two were speaking in gravity.
Ocean tides began to distort subtly, forming circular patterns visible only from orbit above the poles.
Atmospheric sensors lost calibration. Oxygen density rose fractionally as electromagnetic pressure increased. A silent aurora formed at the equator, shimmering red and gold, following the orbit of the approaching object.
Data streams from every satellite abruptly desynchronized, all clocks skipping forward by 43 seconds.
The anomaly spread across digital systems. Atomic clocks froze at the same instant worldwide.
Magnetic poles drifted unpredictably, creating invisible corridors of plasma connecting Earth and the incoming mass. From orbit, faint ripples of molten light began forming patterns along continental fault lines. Modeling attempts failed completely. Equations collapsed, producing infinite loops and impossible negative energy values. Deep within the mantle, pressure waves converged and formed a vast hollow sphere of unknown material. Instruments labeled it a cavity, yet its temperature dropped instead of rising, violating every thermal law. Lightning struck from clear skies as static currents aligned to invisible nodes above the atmosphere. Beneath the oceans, thermal vents reversed flow, pulling heat downward as if feeding an unseen hunger.
Gravitational data confirmed the impossible. Earth's mass had increased by 0.0008% within a single hour.
The increase matched the calculated density of 3I/Atlas, suggesting the two bodies were merging dimensionally. A crimson flare erupted near the planet's magnetic equator, piercing space like a pulse from within.
The moon's shadow stretched unnaturally, lengthening far beyond physics, as if drawn toward the intruder. Seismic waves formed symmetrical grids, vibrating like sound trapper in stone, aligning with ancient fault maps. Core temperature stabilized for the first time in history, then began to drop rapidly toward absolute zero. Magnetic north inverted completely, compass arrays pointing downward into the planet's heart. Energy readings spiked beyond measurable limits. Instruments displayed the word undefined before shutting down. Every volcano fell silent, as if the planet had forgotten how to breathe heat into its own skin. The sun's light refracted strangely around Earth's atmosphere, bending into a halo of molten red. Static storms covered the stratosphere, crackling golden arcs connecting clouds across thousands of kilometers. Beneath the crust, resonance intensified, creating concentric pressure waves expanding through the oceans. Magnetic resonance formed standing patterns identical to the silhouette of 3I/Atlas itself. It became clear the two worlds were no longer separate objects, but two halves of one unfinished design.
Deep space sensors confirmed the final trajectory. Impact inevitable within 8 to 9 hours and counting. Planetary resonance reached critical amplitude, distorting gravitational fields and pulling ocean tides skyward unnaturally. Atmospheric friction intensified, setting the upper layers of air ablaze in a continuous electric storm. The magnetic field reversed polarity again, forming twin vortices spinning opposite directions around each pole. Satellites within orbit disintegrated, torn apart by invisible torsion waves radiating from the planet itself. The Earth's shadow across the moon flickered erratically, forming a heartbeat pattern across lunar terrain. The resonance hum deepened into a thunderous vibration audible through the vacuum itself. The planet's crust flexed like breathing metal, fault lines glowing as continents shifted centimeters every second. Magnetic energy condensed above the equator, forming a single ring of plasma encircling the world. From deep space, 3I/Atlas began to shimmer, its core splitting into spiraling fragments of molten geometry. Each fragment aligned along invisible coordinates, tracing a direct lattice through interplanetary vacuum toward Earth. Radiation intensity spicked as the fragments entered the solar wind, carving fiery tunnels through magnetic flux. The stratosphere thickened into golden haze, scattering sunlight into ominous amber twilight across the globe. Seismic resonance merged with magnetic oscillations, amplifying gravity until mountains began to float mid-air. Ocean basins emptied as water formed massive spheres suspended between Earth and the incoming fragments. Each fragment's trajectory curved gracefully, as if guided by gravitational intelligence beyond human understanding. The core cavity deep within Earth expanded further, consuming crust layers as magnetic density increased. Temperature dropped sharply. Oceans began crystallizing into metallic ice under intense magnetic pressure. The first fragment entered atmosphere over the Pacific, surrounded by plasma brighter than the midday sun. The sky ignited, turning every cloud into burning glass as the fragment disintegrated mid-air. The impact wave rippled around the planet 3 times, reversing the rotation for 12 full seconds. Time sensors malfunctioned again. Chronometers reported negative hours as relativity fractured globally. The moon began to spiral inward, drawn by gravitational resonance into Earth's swelling magnetosphere.
Twin auroras appeared simultaneously on both hemispheres, flickering like eyes opening against the void.
The second fragment pierced the atmosphere, striking Antarctica with a flash that melted half the continent.
Ice vaporized instantly, forming colossal rings of mist glowing crimson under refracted sunlight. Earth's magnetic field began to disintegrate, collapsing into swirling vortices of molten plasma.
Gravity fluctuated violently, causing oceans to rise once more before collapsing back into molten plains.
The remaining fragments aligned above the planet, forming a luminous halo of orbiting destruction.
Each orbit decayed rapidly. The halo thickened until the sky itself burned brighter than the sun. Within hours, sensors detected the final phase, 3I/Atlas itself accelerating directly toward planetary impact.
Shockwaves from the incoming mass rippled ahead of it, compressing Earth's atmosphere inward violently.
Continents bent downward slightly, as planetary crust prepared for impact-induced structural collapse on every latitude. The moon crossed critical orbit, disintegrating into incandescent debris streams drawn toward Earth like iron.
Debris ignited the upper sky, turning night into continuous burning auroral overexposure across the hemisphere.
Earth's core resonance synchronized perfectly. Both bodies now shared one catastrophic oscillation frequency for impact. Lithospheric plates sheared sideways, exposing glowing mantle rivers spilling across darkened oceans under crimson skies.
Atmospheric density spiked again, shaping a shock funnel to guide the object inward with precision.
Space around Earth warped visibly, as though reality flexed to accept an incoming anomaly today.
The planet's molten cavity opened full, revealing radiant chambers waiting to absorb external mass completely.
3I Atlas entered upper atmosphere, wrapped in golden plasma, tearing ionized clouds apart effortlessly above Earth. Impact alarms failed instantly, overwhelmed by gravitational surge exceeding every modeled extinction scenario ever calculated.
The object pierced troposphere intact, dragging a tail of burning debris toward the surface below.
Oceans lifted in towering walls, drawn upward to meet the descending extraterrestrial mass midair.
Crustal layers buckled radially, converting continental plates into glowing shock fronts expanding outward from ground zero.
Atmosphere combusted along entry path, forging a tunnel of fire straight to mantle below.
Contact occurred over the Atlantic basin, vaporizing water volumes larger than known oceans within seconds. Shock waves penetrated the core, forcing planetary rotation to stop as crust shattered outward into space. Mantle material erupted into orbit, forming a blazing ring of molten planetary fragments around Earth. Lunar debris struck the new ring, multiplying fragments into a storm of incandescent shards everywhere. Magnetic vortices collapsed, releasing final bursts of radiation that sterilized the remaining planetary surface completely.
Continents disintegrated into drifting plates, glowing like islands of metal floating on darkness forever. The planetary core split, merging with 3I/Atlas to form a single radiant superstructure of energy. From orbit, Earth appeared hollowed, encircled by rings of fire and crystallized atmosphere slowly fading. Starlight refracted through the debris field, painting the void with remnants of a dead world. Silence returned to space, leaving only a burning ring where once a planet lived brightly.